Before you even step in a home in Omaha, Nebraska, there are a few things you need to know, like why you might be signing a contract you don't fully understand, how property taxes could surprise you next year, and why skipping one $200 inspection could cost you up to $20,000. Now let's break down the real stuff no one's telling you about buying a home in Omaha, and let's get started right now. Let's talk about the agency disclosure and the buyer-broker agreement. One of the requirements before touring a home is that you are going to need to sign two documents. The first document is called an agency disclosure. This document is required by the state of Nebraska. Now, in Nebraska, real estate agents are required to provide a written agency disclosure at the earliest practicable opportunity during or following the first substantial contact with a buyer or seller. This document outlines the agent's relationship with the buyer or seller. Let's take a quick look at the agency disclosure. In this example, let's assume you are a buyer, and let's just say it's a husband and their spouse. Both buyers would initial where it says limited buyer's agent and then sign at date at the bottom. On the back of this document is the name and phone number of the agent. The buyer would then initial where it says only the agent above represents you. All of the other agents from the same brokerage or team may work for another party and should not be assumed to be your agent. The back of the document also has the names and numbers of the managing broker. The second document you'll need to sign is a buyer-broker agreement. This document has two variations. There's the exclusive buyer agency and the limited buyer agency agreement. Now, this document became a requirement as a result of the settlement between the National Association of Realtors and the plaintiffs in the Sitzer-Burnett class action lawsuit. This document is a legally binding contract between the buyer and the buyer's agent who is working on behalf of the broker. This document outlines the duties of the agent, the length of the agreement, and the amount of compensation to be paid to the agent's broker. A few things to keep in mind. Real estate commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. Take the time to read the contract. Before you hire an agent, ask for a copy of the buyer agency agreement so you have time to read over. If you choose to sign an exclusive buyer agency agreement, you should ask about what if you are unhappy with their service? Can you cancel the agreement? If you want to give an agent a test drive, you can opt for a limited buyer agency agreement. You can specify one particular property. That way, if you meet your agent and it just doesn't feel like the right fit, you're not obligated to work with that agent for an extended period of time. When you write a contract to purchase a home, in paragraph 31, you can ask the seller to pay the cost of your buyer's agent. Number 2, property taxes. In Douglas and Sarpy County, property taxes are paid in arrears, meaning we pay 2024 taxes in 2025. That means when you buy a home in Douglas and Sarpy County in 2025, the 2025 property taxes are not paid until 2026. However, in the contract, in paragraph 11, it states that we're going to treat the 2024 taxes as if they are current taxes for the purposes of this agreement. That means if you're closing on, let's say, March 31st, 2025, the taxes are prorated, meaning the seller is responsible for the taxes from January 1st, 2025 to March 30th, and the buyer is responsible from March 31st, 2025 to the end of the year. The other thing to consider is that when you buy new construction, your home may not be fully assessed. This means for the first year, you might get a break on your taxes. The first year, you might only be paying taxes on the lot. However, understand the assessor is going to reassess the property and the home, and next year your property taxes will increase. The other consideration is the mill levy or the tax rate itself. In newer subdivisions or with new construction, you might have a higher mill levy. Someone has to pay for the new streets and the new sewers in the new subdivision. Some of the older parts of Omaha have lower tax rates compared to some of the suburbs like Papillion, Gretna, or Elkhorn. In Nebraska, we use a SID system, or what they call a sanitary improvement district. This is used to develop neighborhoods outside of the city limits. A SID helps pay for things like streets, sewers, and water by issuing bonds and collecting property taxes from homeowners in the area. Once a neighborhood is built out, the city may then annex it and then take over services. Until then, you may pay a little bit higher taxes in a newer subdivision. If you're new to Omaha and the surrounding communities have higher than average property taxes. Make sure you check to see what the property taxes are and make sure you budget for property tax increases in the future. Over 50% of the money collected from our local property taxes goes back into the local school system. So let's talk about the school system. Number 3 would be schools. Omaha is known as a great place to raise a family. One of the reasons why is our public school system. One of the reasons why companies like to relocate to Omaha is because of our high quality of life and our well-educated workforce. The Omaha real estate market is a school district-driven market. People make real estate decisions based on the school district. If you're new to Omaha, one resource available is the Nebraska Education Profile website. It is your one-stop location for education data. You can use this site to explore different school districts and even individual schools. In Nebraska, a school district can have 4 classifications. The highest classification is excellent, followed by great, good, and needs support to improve. This site allows you to see graduation rates, attendance, test performance, and comparison to peer districts and to the state. This is simply a tool to start your research. Each school is different, and what might be a great school for one family may not be the best school for someone else. This is a very individual decision for you and your family. Nebraska allows for open enrollment, meaning you can opt into another school district. There's an application process, and your application has to be accepted. 60% of the applications are denied. If your application is accepted, then the student is responsible for their own transportation to and from school. When you move to Omaha in a high-growth district, for example in Gretna, new schools are in the process of being built. This means that the boundaries can change. Anytime you're making an offer on a home, it is a good idea as a buyer for you to verify the school and the school district. Number 4, inspections. Let's take a moment and talk about the inspections and take a look at the inspection paragraph 18 inside the contract. When you make an offer to purchase, you have the option to conduct inspections. Note, that is plural. When you make an offer, and if you opt to do inspections, you have until 5 p.m. on the 14th calendar day after the acceptance date to conduct any and all inspections. This can include a whole house inspection, or if you're a buyer buying a home sight unseen, you might want to book a flight and see the home in person. Nebraska has high levels of radon gas. Radon is a naturally occurring, colorless, odorless, radioactive gas that is caused by the breakdown of uranium in the soil. Eastern Nebraska is known for high levels of radon gas. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer behind smoking. You can test for radon. If high levels of radon are detected, you can install a radon mitigation system. A radon test is around $125. Depending on the home, a radon mitigation system will run somewhere in the neighborhood of around $1,500 to $2,000. If you're buying new construction, builders now install a passive radon mitigation system. A passive radon mitigation system is a radon system minus the fan. You can add a fan for a couple of $100. If you're buying an older home, one inspection you may want to choose to do is a sewer scope inspection. If you're buying a home in an older neighborhood with mature hardwood trees, and if the home was built before 1990, and if the main plumbing stack is made of cast iron, you definitely want to do a sewer scope inspection. Another tell might be when you look at the main stack. If you see a rubber drain plug on the main stack, it means a plumber has had to access the main line in the recent past. Back in the day, especially in really old homes, the main sewer line was made up of clay sections connected together at joints. Over time, tree roots will find where these sections connect. The tree roots are looking for a source of water, and over time, tree roots block the main sewer line. After 1990, builders started using PVC pipe for the main sewer line. Many sellers are unaware that there's even an issue. You might have an older couple living in a home with no issues. A young family buys the home, moves in, they have kids, they use a lot more water, and they use a lot more toilet paper. After a week or two, they'll call and say, hey, there's raw sewage coming up through the main drain. Replacing a main sewer line is expensive and can cost you up to $20,000 to replace. And this item is not covered by insurance. Now the buyers are facing a major repair, and more than likely, they probably don't have the funds to make this repair. Another issue is the exterior water service line. Just as you are responsible for the sewer line from the home to the street, you're also responsible for the water line from the main to the interior of the home. If you're with MUD, Metropolitan Utilities District has partnered with HomeServe to offer a protection plan for $449 a month for coverage of this water line. If you are an MUD customer, I would recommend getting this coverage. If you're buying a home, you have the option to conduct any other inspections you see fit during that inspection window. If the mechanicals are older, you may want to have an HVAC contractor evaluate the furnace and AC. Same thing goes with the roof. If the roof is older, you may want to have a roofer take a look at the roof. Of course, any inspection you do has to be coordinated with the seller. It is still their home. You don't send someone over unless you have the permission of the seller. If you're a seller, you need to understand the days of just simply doing a whole house inspection are over. If you're a seller and if someone is inspecting the home, leave. Do not hang around, because if you become aware of a defect, then if the deal falls apart, you're now required to disclose that material defect. Now, as the seller, it's your house. You can do whatever you want, but it can backfire if you hang around in a major way. Let's talk about the number 5, which would be the lead water service lines. In older parts of Omaha, the water lines are made of lead. MUD is in the process of a 10-year project to replace these old water lines. The program was started in 2024 and is expected to take approximately 10 years to complete. You can learn more on their website, and they have an interactive map where you can enter your address to see if the property has lead water lines. Number 6, the lead Superfund area. Since we're on the subject of lead, let's talk about Omaha's lead Superfund area. Back in the day, Omaha was home to the Asarco lead smelting plant. This plant was located in downtown Omaha near the present-day CHI Health Convention Center, near the Lewis and Clark Landing, and around the new STEM Museum, the Luminarium. This plant operated for 125 years, and it was closed in 1997. The lead from the Omaha Lead Superfund site is one of the largest residential lead cleanup projects in the United States. The EPA designated it a Superfund site back in 1999 and has worked for the last 15 years to clean up the contaminated soil in thousands of yards in North and South Omaha. When you buy a home in this area, you'll be required to sign a lead Superfund site disclosure. This document discloses the approximate boundaries of the lead Superfund area. Another resource available is the Omaha Lead Registry. You can enter your address and see if any work has been done in terms of the soil or paint stabilization. Number 7, homeowners insurance. Now let's shift gears and talk about homeowners insurance. If you're buying a home in the Omaha area, be advised our homeowner insurance rates are some of the highest in the nation. Why? Thunderstorms in Omaha typically form when moist, warm air from the Gulf of America meets cooler, drier air from the north or west. As warm air rises, it cools and condenses, forms clouds, and eventually thunderstorms. Omaha's flat terrain and the central location make it a hotspot for these air masses to collide, especially in the spring and summer months. Thunderstorms bring high winds, flash flooding, hail, and occasionally tornadoes. Just last week, we had another tornado strike just north of Omaha, and in 2024, we had a tornado strike in northwestern Douglas County near Elkhorn and Bennington area. One of the reasons for our higher than average insurance rates is hail. In fact, some insurance companies will not give full replacement coverage on an older roof. This means you might have coverage, but the roof might be depreciated. This means if you have to replace that roof, you might be paying out of pocket for that replacement. When you make an offer to purchase, after the offer is accepted, make sure you lock down your homeowner's insurance policy. One of the benefits of new construction, some builders will use impact-resistant shingles. Ask the builder, you might be able to get a discount on your homeowner's insurance policy. Number 8, neighborhoods. Which neighborhood is best? People want to know what area is the best place to live. That's really subjective. It really depends. Omaha's growth was not uniform. In fact, some neighborhoods were once small towns. As Omaha grew, these small towns were annexed into the city. Take, for example, Benson. Benson was founded in 1887. As Omaha grew, Benson was annexed by the city of Omaha in 1917. Today, Benson is its own hipster hangout with live music venues, historic buildings, bars, and restaurants. If you're relocating to Omaha, I would suggest making a visit to simply explore the city and explore the different communities. Omaha's growth has not been uniform. You will have areas, for example, like Country Club. Country Club is located near Benson. Country Club has beautiful brick homes built from the 1930s and 1940s. Then you go a few blocks west. Completely different style, completely different price point. One or two streets can have a completely different experience. One of the things people really appreciate about living in Omaha is going to be the commute time. Omaha is a city where you can get across town in about 30 minutes. If you rely on public transportation, Omaha may not be the city for you. Our public transportation is improving, but we still have plenty of room for improvement. Don't be afraid to explore the surrounding suburbs or some of the surrounding cities. Just for orientation, Omaha is located in Douglas County. Douglas County is home to the city of Omaha and the towns of Ralston, Bennington, Waterloo, and Valley, Nebraska. The eastern boundary of Douglas County is the Missouri River, and the western boundary is the Platte River. The Missouri River is also the boundary that separates Iowa from Nebraska. However, there is a part of Iowa that is actually on the Nebraska side of the Missouri River. You'll experience this if you fly into Eppley Airfield and you drive into downtown Omaha. When you drive on Abbott Drive, you'll actually pass through a part of Iowa known as Carter Lake. Back in 1877, we had a massive flood which changed the course of the Missouri River. After the flood, Carter Lake was on the Nebraska side of the river. There was a Supreme Court case that settled whether or not Carter Lake belonged to Iowa or Nebraska. To the south of Douglas County is Sarpy County. Sarpy County is home to the city of Bellevue. Bellevue is home to Offutt Air Force Base. Bellevue is the third largest city in Nebraska. Bellevue is not always Nebraska's third largest city. On game day, Memorial Stadium down in Lincoln, home of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, becomes the third largest city by population. Sarpy County is the home of Papillion, La Vista, Gretna, and Springfield, Nebraska. The city of Omaha has grown through annexation of smaller communities. For example, the city of Elkhorn used to be a separate town. Elkhorn was annexed by Omaha back in 2007. It's important to note that Omaha cannot annex across county lines, meaning Papillion is always going to be a separate city and never be a part of Omaha. The other thing you should be aware of is that school districts and designated cities may not necessarily match, meaning there are homes that are located in Omaha but are in the Gretna School District. Douglas County is the largest county by population, followed by Lancaster County. Lancaster County is the home to the capital of Nebraska, Lincoln. Coming in third is Sarpy County. Sarpy County actually borders Douglas County to the north. The actual border between Douglas and Sarpy County is Harrison Street. The western and southern boundary of Sarpy County is the Platte River. The eastern boundary of Sarpy County is the Missouri River. Keep an open mind. Explore the different cities and neighborhoods that work best for you and your family. It may depend on your budget, what you like to do. Do you want a newer home or do you want something older? Do you want a smaller community or do you want the suburbs or a condo in downtown Omaha? The nice thing about Omaha, we have a nice variety of options depending on what works best for you. Let's talk about the market. The market is always changing. Omaha doesn't experience the high highs and the low lows you see in other markets. Overall, we have a very stable and diverse economy. We have a low unemployment rate, especially compared to the national average. Even during the Great Recession, we didn't experience a market crash. Did we have a large inventory and did homes take you longer to sell? Yes, but we didn't have a market crash. Have home prices increased drastically in the past several years? Absolutely. A lot of people who watch my channel are considering buying a home in the very near future. Now, maybe you're renting right now and maybe your lease doesn't expire until November. You might want to reach out now. Look at a few homes now. In fact, you might want to even consider new construction. Reach out now. Look at a couple of homes so you are more familiar with the market. Depending on your price point, if new construction has a 9-month build cycle, you can meet now, maybe even build your new home, and by the time your lease is up, you might be able to move it directly into your new home. Now, do me a favor, if you're working with an agent or if you plan on working with an agent, make sure your agent is with you when you make your first visit to a new construction community. Most builders have a policy where the agent must be present on your first visit. Even if you're not quite ready to buy a home at the moment, it doesn't hurt to have a conversation with a lender now. Find out what your buying power is, or if you need to work on your credit, the lender can help point you in the right direction. Here's the deal. Just because your lender says you're approved for a $300,000 home doesn't mean you should go buy a $300,000 home unless it fits your budget. Buying a home is great. I believe in home ownership, but you want to make sure you can afford the home you're going to be buying. That means you're going to have to make sure you have enough funds set aside for when life happens. And you're going to need 3 buckets of money. You're going to need money for down payment, money for closing costs, and money for when life happens. Let's take a moment and talk about interest rates. Now, what are rates going to do? Nobody knows. Should I buy now or should I wait for rates to come down? Nobody knows what rates are going to do. Don't fall into this trap of thinking, well, if I buy now and if rates come down, I can always refinance. Now, that may be true, but what if home prices come down? What are home prices going to do? Again, nobody knows. You have to remember that if rates come down and if you need to refinance or you want to refinance, you need to have enough equity in your home in order to refinance. So if prices come down, you may not be able to refinance. Now, do I think prices are going to come down? No, but that is why you have to have some money saved back. What if you were laid off? In terms of home prices, Omaha was named as one of the hottest markets in the United States. When people make an offer on a home, they want to know, well, what should I offer? Well, that all depends. Are there multiple offers? How bad do you want the house? Now, if you're really in love with the house and if there's multiple offers, then you need to submit your highest and best offer. And in our market, we do have some price points where we're seeing multiple offers. Now, what does it mean to submit your highest and best offer? Now, let's say the home is listed for, let's say, $300,000. You should make your offer. If it's a multiple offer situation and you really want the house, you want to make your offer so that if the other person outbid you by $1, you're perfectly fine with losing the deal. Now, the really good homes are not sticking around a long time. If a home comes on the market, you need to be ready to look right away. If you wait 3 or 4 days in this market, that home may be gone. That's why it's really important that you familiarize yourself with the market. So when a new home hits the market, you know whether or not that's one you want to pursue. If you're already working with an agent, great. But if you need an agent, my contact information is below, or you can reach out with the number on the screen. People always want to know, or they always ask me, hey, Dave, we want to live in a safe neighborhood. Now, as a licensed real estate professional, my job is not to tell you where to live. You get to choose. Now, safe is going to be relative. Everybody's going to have a different version of safe. Now, I'm bound by the Realtor Code of Ethics and the Fair Housing Act. I could get in some really hot water by a practice known as steering. Steering is when a real estate agent influences a buyer's choice of a neighborhood based on their race, religion, or other protected class. Steering is illegal because it limits housing choices and can lead to segregation. If you want to research crime, then check out the local police department website or other crime mapping websites. Now, it's up to you to decide what is safe based on the data. Speaking of websites, another website to investigate is the Nebraska Sex Offender Registry. Now, you can search by region, where you can search by city, county, or zip code, or you can search by location and locate offenders within a 1 to 3 mile radius of a specified location. Does Omaha have crime? Yes, we're like any other mid-sized city. However, I think you're really going to be pleasantly surprised when you look at everything Omaha has to offer and all of the opportunity that's available in the Omaha area.